Why should the elderly live alone? Many elderly people feel that relying on their children is not something to be ashamed of. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you still need to subscribe, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you can see all the videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know so I can make a better video for you. Now let's get started. If children can take care of their parents, it proves that they are successful and capable. One should be proud of staying with their children. Elderly people won't have to worry about food and drink. On the contrary, relying entirely on grandchildren often leads to problems. Many cases have shown that relying on children is not ideal. It's best to depend on oneself. A typical example is Miss Lon, who is 75 years old and suffered from a serious illness 2 years ago. After that experience, she realized the reality of her future life in old age, and decided to protect these 3 things rather than rely on her children. Why does Miss Lon feel that relying on her children is useless and ineffective in old age? What should she protect? Let's listen to Miss Lon's story to understand this issue better. Mrs. Lan, VO. I am now 73 years old and have been widowed for 13 years. Before my husband passed away, we had a happy life together. We have 2 sons and 1 daughter, all of whom have good and stable lives and live and work in the city. However, the good times didn't last long. 5 years after retirement, my husband died in a car accident. Since then, I have been living a lonely life in a cold house. Before, I felt that my health was quite good, and with my monthly pension, I could take care of myself even without my husband. After his death, the person responsible for the accident gave me 300 million VND for the incident, along with 200 million VND that my husband had saved over the years. However, I still didn't feel at ease. The rest of my life is very long, and living alone with money is meaningless. Narrator, VO. Do you know why Miss Lon felt so worried? She shares that many elderly people advised her to spend money on eating, traveling, shopping, and hiring a helper, but she felt that this life in old age did not belong to her. She always thought that children needed support, but only when facing issues did she realize the truth. Her children were all greedy and selfish. After her husband's death, she tried to comfort herself to take care of things cheerfully. Initially, they agreed that she would stay at each son's house for 5 months, and then at her daughter's house for 2 months. They told her to choose and stay as long as she wanted. After living with her children for some time, she found that this arrangement did not bring her happiness and joy. When her sons and daughter invited her to stay with them, claiming it was to ensure a relaxed old age, in reality, she found it less comfortable than living alone in her old house. Besides being treated like a guest by her son-in-law when staying with her son, she had to endure a lot of complaints. At her elder son's house, her daughter-in-law assigned her many household tasks. Initially, her son gave her 5 million VND per month for family expenses, but after a few months, her son started complaining that her pension was too high and asked her to contribute more to household expenses. She agreed because she was accommodating. Later, he started giving her only 2 million VND, then nothing at all. She had to take care of everything herself. Likewise, when she moved to her younger son's house, it was the same situation. But this younger son tricked her out of more money than the elder son. After she had just moved in, he asked for 200 million VND for an investment project. Since she had spent all her money on them and living expenses at her elder son's house, she had no more to give. How could she get it back? Her younger son, dissatisfied with her lack of money, began insisting that she sell the old house. After all, she only stayed there a few times a year. The sooner it was sold, the better to get a good price. They kept saying that if she had money, she could share with her siblings, and they would be richer, making her life better too. Although her late husband had suggested selling the house to live with their sons after retirement, she had no intention of selling it after his death. After all, she and her husband had put in so much effort, sweat, and tears to buy that house. It was the only place they could live. If sold, she would not know where to go for family gatherings. She refused her son's quest, but unexpectedly her younger son and the elder son pressured her to sell. She was adamant about not selling. To appease her children, she gave each of them 50 million VND and falsely said that she only had 200 million VND left. This dispelled their intention to sell the house, but she thought she could finally live in peace. After a serious illness, she saw the reality more clearly. 3 years ago, she suffered from a stroke due to a fall. Fortunately, a passerby took her to the hospital in time. She had to limit her movements, was unable to use her limbs, and could not do many tasks. Therefore, she needed someone else to care for her. Realizing she could no longer help, her children began to disregard her. Even her daughter-in-law and son became increasingly dissatisfied with her, treating her like a burden, and constantly complaining about having to serve her. The doctor advised her to rest and take good care of herself for recovery, but living with her son, she was often scolded and criticized. This may have contributed to her ongoing stroke issues. Later, they wanted to send her to a nursing home. She had no interest in going there at all. Being there felt like being in prison, unable to go anywhere. Therefore, she decided to return to her hometown, hire a helper, and live comfortably. Initially, her children were hesitant and said that living alone didn't need much money, so they agreed to her decision. They were forced to compromise. Less than a year after returning home, her health quickly improved. She could walk, her limbs were more flexible, and she could do some simple household chores. Reflecting on this, she felt that not selling the house and not giving all her savings to her children was the right decision. If she had no house or money now, she would have had to rely on her children daily, enduring their complaints or being in a nursing home. The third point is not to exhaust yourself working for your children. In today's world, many retirees continue to work to earn extra income to support their children or pay off debts. Some parents, after retirement, not only take on additional chores, but also manage the household tasks for their children. Instead of focusing on personal health and well-being, they overextend themselves. This is a significant mistake. After retirement, it is unreasonable for the elderly to continue working excessively. The most important thing each day is to take good care of oneself. When health is compromised, it not only causes personal distress, but also burdens the children. Instead of overworking, the elderly should focus on exercising and maintaining their health. Regardless of how much money is earned, it won't be enough to cover medical expenses if health deteriorates. As we age and become weaker, it does not mean we cannot find happiness. By planning retirement life carefully, we can still enjoy a peaceful old age. Thank you for joining us in exploring these profound insights on managing life in our later years. From understanding the importance of wisely handling assets to recognizing the value of personal space and maintaining our well-being, we've covered crucial aspects of enjoying a fulfilling and peaceful old age. We'd love to hear from you. What have you learned from today's discussion? Please share one key takeaway that you plan to implement in your life. Your thoughts and experiences are invaluable to us, so leave a comment below this video. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to leave your comments, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support helps us continue creating content that inspires and guides us. Thank you for being part of our community.